Dear Guillermo, I'm Rishi, as Lachlan already said. I'm 14 years old and I run a hack club out of Brampton in Canada. So I have a hypothetical for you. You've had an enormous impact on the open source community throughout the years, pioneering some of the biggest software projects in the world and making them open from the very start. It's no doubt changed the world. However, the education system in America and Canada is incredibly competitive, with people competing for the best marks in exams or the most amount of extracurriculars and putting each other down to gain a small advantage. And if you were shot back into the early 20th century to the beginnings of this education system, and you're given full access and full power, right? What is one thing that you would change to make it a little bit more open for people? And why would you do it? But more importantly, how would you do it? Remember, you're still you, but you don't have any of the tools of the 21st century.
Yeah, that's a fascinating question because as I mentioned earlier, I've always been in between these two worlds, right? Like, as I mentioned, for me, getting into that school, and I had to work so hard to get those grades and learning those skills. And I was so proud of it too, because I remember taking the SAT online as a comparison point, and I was doing so well with it, even though I was very young. So I've been always been conflicted by this two realities of like, well, I also started working online when I was 13 and contributing to like important companies. I had clients that were, early e-commerce, like big e-commerce websites. I was like contributing to their PHP code bases. So one of the things that I would say is that we need a lot more understanding about the individual and what is the path that is optimal for the individual. Like, if you think about the tools that we use today, which are just like age and location and a lottery system for what school you go to in the early days, it seems to me that we're not really getting the most out of each person. I very much like one of Naval Ravikant's sayings around, no one is going to be better in the entire world at being you. And there is a specific set of skills and talents that you have that nobody else has. And I'm very, very convinced of that. And when I've hired for my company, I've seen that firsthand. There's so many incredible people that I found online that have all these incredible skill sets and interests that, I don't feel close to ever attaining, right? And that's a beautiful thing. So I would find the ways that the education system could recognize and give that freedom to each individual's expression and search, while providing a structure around fundamental things that are shared in all of these endeavors. So an example would be, for me, it was very important to have a competition. This was probably for my personality, right? I was involved in the math Olympiad of my school since I was, like maybe like 7 years old. And competition and how I'm doing in comparison to myself and others, that was very important for me. I wrote a blog post recently called "An Ode to Code Golf," because I think there's all these really cool little competitions that you can partake in that are fun and get you into that mindset of just doing better than you were doing before. So I did a competition like that early on. So Math Olympiad was one. Um, there was a becoming a hacker competition. This was amazing for me. Like, I discovered this website where you started being the lowest ranked, I don't know, soldier in this like fake military, and you had to hack your way. Each lesson was a hacking challenge, and I kind of became obsessed with this idea of hacking systems. And you made it up to like general, master, super general, right? And the first step was so simple. It was like view source, and there was an HTML comment that took you to the next step, and you could do it in like 5 seconds. Level 16 was you had to download a binary that would only run in Linux. So if you had Windows, like, good luck. And then you had to disassemble it to find the password to crack if you run the binary, it would ask you for a password, and then you had to like submit the password. This idea of giving people ladders of games and challenges not unlike, like modern games or like World of Warcraft, you want to be like level 70, whatever. We're lacking enough of those games. In general, I think even like I'm talking about like even at startups and tech companies, like I'd love to see people get better at their jobs through games. So that's one of the things that I would do is like try to invigorate that sense of fun combined with competition. And by the way, something that was critical for me growing up is like I spent a lot of time gaming. Like I wrote about this recently too. It's like I would have periods of intense like career progression followed by intense Counter-Strike progression. And there would be like night and day, like 3 months of like awesome, I'm becoming the best hacker in the universe, to 3 months of like all I'm doing is like uh, you know uh, loading new maps into Counter-Strike servers, like playing with my friends all day long. So yeah, like I'd love to see how education systems can like adapt to this reality of like people don't want this boring structure. Give people like the freedom to create and experiment and play.